Hey everyone, this is Jorge Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited. Hey everyone, this is Jorge Soto and you're watching Startups Unedited. Today I'm joined by Chris Basey, who's a former colleague of mine and just absolute UI UX genius. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, George. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So for all the folks, although this is Startups Unedited, we didn't really want to start off with me laughing like crazy because I couldn't, for whatever reason, seeing Chris after all these years makes me giggle. In any case, Chris, tell us a little bit about your background. You have a great new company that you just launched, but let's hear the story of your entrepreneurial journey.
So, okay, cool. Yeah, so I came to the States about 13 years ago. So I'm originally from the north of England, and kind of worked my way slowly into startups via the Sierra Club, working as IT tech trainer there, and then got into Six Apart, which back in the day was WordPress before WordPress. I worked on Movable Type blogging platform there. And then from there, so I worked there for a couple of years, and then I formed my own startup called AnswerJam, which, as many startups did, unfortunately didn't go quite the way we planned. And after about...
And you survived it, by the way.
Just
survived it, right?
we got through it. It was rough for a while there, but the joys of startups. But learned a lot. I mean, you learn a bunch from not succeeding and dusting yourself off and starting up again. So from there, I formed a consultancy, which was started off being just me, which was CoMedia Design, which was originally just me. So I worked there. I worked with Justin Timberlake. I was a design in residence at Facebook Founders Fund. I worked at VMware and various other enterprises, and then a lot of startups. So most of my stuff and most of my career there, especially, was working with very early stage seed or Series A, and getting them up to the point where they needed to get to in order to either get to that Series A, in order to get to that Series B, or in order to kind of, okay, we need to get X number of users, and this is our goal. And kind of like my job was to go in and kind of, from a design, from a UI and UX point of view, go, okay, this is what you need to do in order to get there. This is what's wrong with your current flow, or this is the flow that we need to do. So I did that, and then I was dragged kicking and screaming away from consultancy by Ranjith Kumaran, who started a company called PunchLab, which is, of course, where we met and we worked together.
And for the folks out there, Ranjith is also known for co-founding You Send It, so the early file sharing company. And he really started that company during I would say the heyday of, that early in the cycle, where Yelp was found in some of those early companies.
Yeah, no, he was right. He was right at the forefront of all of that. Incredibly smart, knows exactly what he's doing. And he's actually now CEO of Hightail, which is...
went back.
He says he went back. So yeah, I mean, he was great to work with. I stayed at PunchLab for 4 years, headed up the design team there. And then another guy who you also know, my co-founder, Kenneth Yang, all of us working at PunchLab, me and Ken decided to take a break from PunchLab and start CoMedia Design again, only this time as a full-fledged agency.
And Ken is great, by the way.
Ken is awesome.
Send him my regards. He's a great
Will do. Well, if he's coming down every so often, he comes down every 2 weeks, so we should all grab coffee.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about Silicon Valley. So we spent about 2 weeks or so filming a short film documentary, kind of a docuseries on what it's really like to be a startup founder here in Silicon Valley. What's your take on it? What is it really like? Not like you don't have to hold back here. What is it like to be a founder, to be that entrepreneur?
It's great, and it's tiring, and it's exhausting, and it's exhilarating, and it's just pressing, and it ruins your sleep patterns, and it ruins your social life, and you have to be really committed to it. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy starting things from nothing and kind of seeing things grow. The community of founders here, and the community of entrepreneurs, and the community of design, in my background in particular, is great. I mean, people generally wants to help everybody else succeed. There's a real feeling here that someone else succeeding is not your failure, which you see in other industries or you see with other people. And here it's not that. And if you can do something to help other people get there, then that mentality is still really prevalent here. I mean, there are obviously exceptions, but for the most part, I'd say that's true. And I think that's one of the great things about working in the Valley, and certainly working in design, is there is an altruism here that people want to help.
Yeah, they want to see innovation. I think that's something that's incredibly unique to San Francisco and of course the Bay Area, really Silicon Valley down there in the Bay. If you're a, let's say, founder or founding team, and you're trying to think about what's the best UI that I can actually implement in a short period of time for the MVP. So like, that first version of the product, maybe the MVP PP, with a couple of other features there. But what would you say is the best kind of, I would say, approach to getting something good in place?
Well, design is problem solving. That's at its very core. User experience and user interface design is problem solving. So you need to know exactly what problem is it that you're looking to solve. And there's lots of fancy ways of doing things, but what is the core that you're trying to achieve? What is it that you've seen in the marketplace? What is it that your users said that they're lacking or that they need, that you can provide not even necessarily a unique solution to, but something that you think adds value to their lives? So the only way of doing that is research. The only way to do that is to get out there and talk to people and find out what are they using, like whatever it is, task management. Like, what are the problems with task management? Everybody hates their task management tools, but why? So go out and find out, like, what people are using Basecamp, or they're using Trello, or they're using Flow, or they're using Pivotal Tracker, or whatever it is that they're using.
Or spreadsheets, right? If they're still doing spreadsheets, which is bizarre that a lot of people, actually, I get it. It's easy to use.
We've had clients like that. I've had briefs, and I've had feedback and changes sent to me in PowerPoint, and it's like, what are you? And so there are lots of problems to solve there. But you can't solve all of them. So you need to be talking to these core groups of people saying, why is this a problem for you? And then looking and defining, okay, these 3 problems we've identified as the major problems. This is where we think that we can make a difference, and we're going to work on our MVP is going to be solving these 3 problems. And I think narrowing it down and doing something that's very concrete, that you can tick the box and say, yes, that's a problem. So I think you fall into the trap really easily of expecting or thinking that there's so many problems around here, we can solve so many of them, and then you try and do too much. So it's doing the research and just kind of figuring out the core problems and finding a solution for those. I think that's where you need to start from.
And just focusing on those features that solve those very specific problems. How do you make sure that you don't like over design it or over engineer it?
Well, you're going to. I think ultimately, no matter what, because you're excited, because you see this great opportunity. I think there you need a great product guy, a product manager, a product director who he or she is like, no, this is what we said we were going to do, and someone and he or she will just stick you to it. And it's like, that's what you need. I think as a designer, and I fall into this trap. I've been doing this more years than I will ever admit to. I still want to try, like, yeah, but this would be really cool. And I end up going off on these flights of fancies, and I create all these wireframes, I create these gray boxes, like we could do all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And you need that. You also need that team around you, like one person in that team at the very least to say, yes, that's great. And we're going to park that because this is what we're doing. So kind of like having someone who will keep you on track and making sure you're doing the right things, I think is vital.
Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time on a Friday. Okay. It's like 4:13.
I'm just counting down to beer at this point.
And so thank you so much. If people want to actually learn more about your agency, where can they go? And tell us a little bit about what you guys do so well.
So we're CoMedia Design, www.comediadesign.com. And what we've been concentrating on a lot is working with consumerization of the enterprise. So taking kind of larger companies and applications inside larger companies and creating experiences that provide delight and provide a huge benefit inside the agencies. Because even inside the enterprise, even if you work for VMware or Vodafone or Oracle, you still consume the internet the same way as everybody else does. So why are you creating these applications that are really hard to use, that don't flow as nicely, that don't have that consumer feel to it. So we've been concentrating a lot on looking at how we can kind of meld those two worlds together.
That's amazing. You know, the consumerization of enterprise and really providing that, you know, just much better user experience at work that doesn't make us want to like, lose our minds, right?
Yeah, there's no reason to have interfaces that look and feel like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And what's your Twitter handle?
So I am at Chris_BCN.
Awesome.